Changes International, changing lives for the better. Our vision is to be a transformative platform that exposes lies and reveals the truth. Mind Changes International, we on a mission, masking the falsehoods with every new edition. We're here to enlighten your mind with this vibration, expose the lies, speaking truth, normal conversations. Mind Changes International, we on a mission, masking the falsehoods.
Welcome back to another powerful episode of the Mind Changes Podcast, where we shift perspectives, challenge norms, and unpack the truth behind the headlines. Hey, listen, everybody. I'm your host, Lamar Blakney, and I got my man. Go ahead and give yourself in there, Sean.
And I'm Shann Atkinson. Today's episode is not just a conversation. It's a deep dive into a complex and controversial case that is gripping headlines across this nation.
Yeah. That's right, Sean. Listen, and folks, by the way, we calling this one victims, participants, and the power plays. We're going to talk about the complex narrative of the P. Diddy case. And let me say from the top, we are approaching this with care, compassion, and courage. This isn't gossip. This is necessary for us to unpack legal, psychological, and social issues. Welcome to the Mind Changes Podcast. Yes. What's going on, Sean?
Not a whole lot, man. How was your weekend so far?
I don't know, man, but you sound like a transformer right now.
Oh no. All right, maybe it'll clear up.
Yeah. You sound like Optimus Prime. It's like I don't know what it is. Is it something on our end? I don't know, but
I don't know.
I'm scared to switch it to my Ethernet. Let me check my power right quick, man, because something is definitely going different with your microphone, man, and I hear it over here. I don't know if it's going to translate to the viewers, but we're going to kick this show off. I'm checking it right now, Sean. Just checking out levels. I hope everybody had a wonderful week. Listen, I mean, if you're live today, then that means God still have plans for you. That means you still have purpose. That means you still have something to do. What you think, Sean?
That's right. Absolutely, man. Every time your feet hit the ground every morning, man, you still got a purpose in this world to do something and impact somebody's in some way, shape, or form. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's crazy. Your sound is just really, really different, Sean. I don't know if it sounds like that with the audience, but we're gonna roll with this. Because you wasn't sounding like that a few minutes ago. You sounded like Sean.
Are you plugged into the Ethernet or are you on Wi-Fi?
I'm on the Ethernet, but I'm gonna try to switch it and see if it changes anything. All right. So it shouldn't cut us off. It should just, kind of keep everything going. Let's see right quick here. Yeah, we should be going. Say something, Sean. Oh, we done lost Shann Atkinson. Yes, we have lost him. And I hope we didn't lose our episode. But anyway, let me see here. Yes, let me check. I'm checking live. See if we okay. We okay. Oh my God. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Hey, Sean, say something.
Hey, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Okay, now it's better. I don't know. I think it clicked us off. So we must be offline. I'm gonna see if it'll come back, Sean.
We're still on the air. We're still broadcasting.
Okay, there you go. You pop back in there. We still on the air. Thank God for technology. Well, listen, Sean. Let me hear your voice again.
Hello, how is everybody doing out there in the world today?
There you go. So, Sean, introduce our first segment. Listen, if you just tuning in, we're talking about victims, participants, and the power plays, the complex narrative of the P. Diddy case. All right, Sean.
Yeah. Well, today's talking points, we're going to introduce this case. I mean, we're going to have an overview of the recent allegations against Shann Diddy Combs, Cassie's claims, and the disturbing footage that were released during this trial. The racketeering charges that potentially may be being overshadowed in the media case. We're going to discuss that, if that's even the case or not. Yeah. And key developments, including testimony from Kid Cudi and other emerging voices in this trial.
All right.
So
Sean,
let's start. Now, go ahead. Go
and
ahead.
check it out. Before we go, let's go on and get into our disclaimer because we got to get
Okay.
that. We got to get
All right.
that work out of the way right quick. So here we go.
All right.
We're going to get this disclaimer right quick so everybody know where we come from and what we doing and how we going to represent ourselves. Yes.
All right.
Advised, not warned, but advised. All right, Sean. So listen, go ahead on and get into your the first segment, Sean.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's start with the facts. Diddy is facing multiple allegations, everything from physical abuse to racketeering. And while most media outlets are focused on the abuse footage involving Casey, there's a whole undercurrent of federal investigations going largely unnoticed. That I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what, Sean? Listen, when I look at this case, right,
Hmm.
and from the beginning, it's supposed to have been about racketeering, right? But
Right.
nobody is talking about any of the charges from racketeering. They're talking
Okay.
about how bad of a boyfriend he was. I mean, they're
Okay.
assassinating this character. They're really is almost like he's on trial for Casey in a
Okay.
sense,
I got you.
because up until maybe last week was the first time I heard anything that's kind of leaning towards a RICO charge,
I got you. I
right?
got you.
So some of our talking points are going to be, why are we only talking about the abuse and
Okay.
not the deeper charges? And
All
Sean,
right.
when I think about that, I'm not an attorney and I'm not a
Yep.
lawyer, but I'm like, why are they focusing on something he can't be prosecuted for? The statutes
Okay.
of limitations had ended on him, beating on Cassie. And
Right.
then I'm like, okay, well, why does this even matter?
I
She's
got you.
not a witness. And even, listen, she never said that he was racketeering. She just
Right.
talked about their relationships. And
Okay.
so, we're going to mention the significance of, the RICO Act. Then we're going to talk about we're going to highlight the federal implications. So
Yes.
this is not just tabloid drama.
Right. Right.
This is serious. So, and no small thing, when federal charges come into play, y'all got to remember this, especially racketeering. That
Mhm.
language we typically hear in mob cases, and this is not a
Yes.
mob case. This is an entertainer, a very well known individual. So why
Mhm.
is this taking a back seat, Sean, in the
Okay.
public discourse?
Okay.
Is it by design? Is it part of the defense
It's
strategy to somehow backdoor into the RICO charges? What do you think, Sean?
I think it has a lot to do with its strategy on both ends because
Hmm.
whenever you have the defense and you have the offense, they both have a specific strategy in how they open and how they bring charges and how they lay out the evidence. And a lot of times, one side wants something talked about over the other thing.
Yeah.
Now we can be seeing a situation where the defense, which is Diddy and his lawyers, want that to be talked about so that we and then talk about what has this got to do with the case so they can help control the public narrative. Now this is definitely without question, I truly believe this is a mob case. I really do. I
Yeah.
believe Diddy is a mobster of some kind who is using the music business as a front for a lot of his illegal activities.
Well, I don't listen. I'm from the hood.
Hmm.
Diddy would never scare none of us. So I cannot look at Diddy as a mobster because mobsters don't mob mobsters. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Right.
Diddy only use his influence and his money for people
Hmm.
who are non-mobster-ish, right?
Okay.
These are just
Okay.
people who just they need his resources. They need what he has.
Right.
But I'm gonna
Right.
tell you what I think. When he messed up with those liquor companies,
Okay.
they are coming after Diddy.
It could
That's
be.
when that's when the bad air hit the fan. That's
Right.
when Diddy started having all of these problems when he went against these. Do you know how much money, Sean, these
Yeah.
liquor companies have? Right?
Yeah.
How much money? And I was looking at an interview with Chopper. You know who Chopper
Hmm.
is, right? From the making of the
I'm
band.
familiar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the rappers, and he's been
Hmm.
doing a lot of commentary talking about the Diddy case, and
Okay.
he made it simple. They ain't gonna never see any video with Diddy in it. They're
Right.
not gonna see Diddy doing anything.
Right.
Now, if I set up a party, whether it be by my money or not, and folks come in and start doing things that they want to do,
Hmm.
now how does that make me a racketeer? Right? But we
Okay.
know
Okay.
it's more than just Diddy. And this is why I don't believe Diddy going down because it's
Okay.
too many people with so much money connected to his story that has not
Okay.
come out yet because they're not finished on. They
Hmm.
got a lot of names from Usher to all these different names that they
Hmm.
drop, and they got a lot of entertainers who were a part of some of these events
Okay.
that P. Diddy threw.
Okay.
Right. So I don't think, and I can be wrong, y'all. I don't believe that Diddy is going to jail for racketeering because if
Okay.
I'm a juror, they doing a poor job to me explaining the RICO charge.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? They had
Yeah.
up until now, they haven't had any witnesses that says, "Hey,
Hmm.
yeah, he did it. He was doing it." They just talking about he
Okay.
threw parties. That means
Right.
that everybody around here, anybody with money who throw a party, that's racketeering. If
Hmm.
somebody get in there and start having sex and doing all these other things. Now, I believe Diddy did a lot of stuff. I believe he's guilty of a lot of things. But
Okay.
for me, Sean, they're doing a poor job at explaining,
Okay.
well, at arguing the RICO situation. Now,
Okay.
listen, if y'all listening, we want y'all to chime in. Listen, you can give your comments. We'll read your comments out, or you can, just follow us and share it with a friend. But we want to talk more about this case. And so, Sean, we're going to go into segment 2,
Okay.
victims versus participants. Now,
Okay.
and I'm going to be very, very careful, Sean, when we enter into this segment because I'm not a female. I've never been abused in a relationship,
Right.
especially or abused somebody in a relationship to where
Hmm.
I had so much control over them they was too afraid to leave. Right.
Right. Right.
So this is controversial. This is a controversial question that I'm gonna
Hmm.
propose. Is Cassie only a victim, or did she become complacent in the culture? And I'm gonna
Okay.
stop right there, Sean. Is
Okay.
Cassie truly a victim, or did
Okay.
she become complacent in the culture, in the environment, in everything that Diddy could provide for her, and everything that she could provide for herself? Because when we look
Okay.
at the text messages, Sean, that they
Hmm.
presented in court, she made statements like, "I can't wait for the freak off."
Okay.
So let's talk about that. What do you think about that, Sean? And hold up, everybody.
Well.
I'm not saying she ain't a victim because
Mhm.
I know how y'all viewers can be. You'll take what I just said. You're like, he talking about she ain't a victim. Yeah, everybody is salty about her. I'm even salty about it because the young lady went through a lot. But the
Okay.
question is Cassie only a victim, or did she become complacent in the culture and became a participant?
Right.
So what do you think, Sean?
I think she's a victim. I absolutely think she's a victim. Because this court case is more than just, in my opinion, it's more than just a racketeering case,
Mhm,
which that is a huge. That is just one of those scenarios that there's not a lot that you can stick to this case. So they've got to find the very few things that they can throw at the wall and will
mhm,
stick, that they could topple P Diddy's enterprise. Now you asked the question, was she a victim? And I
mhm,
really, really do believe she was a victim, as well as many, many other individuals. Now you and I both know. what it takes to make the music industry.
Mhm.
You and I worked really, really hard in our
Yeah.
youth to try to make the music industry. We saw a lot of things. We did a lot of things in order to make that career happen for us. But
Uh-huh.
of course, we're here now. It never happened for us. But
Yeah.
but let's but but what little bit I do know and
Mhm.
what little bit I've experienced, when you are all in and you're locked into this life, when you're locked into this job, what you would say, and you are such a creative individual, you have exhausted every possible thing you can do to get to this, right?
Mhm.
Get into the music business. And P. Diddy and many other people are the gatekeepers. They are the individuals that will allow you entrance into this world. Now, not all of them are predators.
Mhm.
Some are not. We've known some predators in the music business. We've seen how things are taking place. And it's these men prey on these individuals, and they know they're the
Mhm.
gatekeepers, and they know that you're only going to get in unless I allow you in.
Uh-huh.
So, and it just so happens a lot of those guys are horrible individuals,
Mhm.
and they make you do things that you probably wouldn't have done any other time, but you're so close. They dangle it so close to you. You
Mhm.
have given everything you've had. You've walked away from relationships. You've walked away from jobs. You've walked away from family. You're alone. You're in a world
Mhm.
that you think you know, but you don't really know. And when you turn around, there's nothing to look back to. So that the only other recourse that you have is you have to move forward, and you have to possibly do things that you wouldn't have done before. You have to make decisions that you probably wouldn't have made before,
Mhm.
especially when you know you are so close to reaching your dream, so close to getting what it is that you have worked so hard for your whole life to get there. You know you belong there because those gatekeepers don't let just anybody in.
Mhm.
You've got to be good at what you do. So those gatekeepers realize that you can be somebody, you can make money in that industry, and they're the ones that make victims out of these individuals and make them do the things that they would have not normally done in their life to get
Yeah.
to where they want to be.
Well, I agree with that. Let's look at let's go to the Bible, right?
Mhm.
So Lot and Sodom and Gomorrah, right?
Mhm.
That was a horrible place. It was so much. It was it was the freak off times 20, according to
Right.
what the scripture says, right? But
Mhm.
even when Lot fled, she looked back.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this, Sean. Does that mean she wasn't abused or afraid, even though she looked back? So
Mhm.
at first, when I was, thinking about the Casey thing,
Mhm.
I was like, she had 10 years to leave.
Right.
She had plenty of opportunity
Right.
to seek help.
Okay.
So listen to me. So listen, we're going to dive deeper into the Casey story, right?
I
No
got you.
doubt. But we have to ask tough questions,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Is it possible to be both a victim and a participant, Sean?
Mhm.
Because trauma doesn't erase agency, but it
Mhm.
does distort it.
Okay.
So I'll say this. A lot of people ask, why would a woman stay in an abusive relationship, especially when the guy has money, fame, and power? But I believe that is just not that simple. Because at first, Sean, before we even start talking about this whole thing, I was like, well, she could have just left. But
Mhm.
for women, it's different because I started doing some reading. For women, it's just different
Right.
because, first of all, men always have that authority over a woman, especially if he got things that he can do to her,
Mhm.
expose her.
Mhm.
And I'm not skilled in that area to know the
Mhm.
psychological effects that a woman would have, but we do ask those questions.
Okay.
And Sam Blue says they adults. They knew exactly what they were selling. He got
Mhm.
IMO. I'm not familiar with that. He says people sign DNAs and volunteer to get their phones locked up. And that is true. I did hear that. I
Mhm.
did hear that when they came to the parties, all of their phones had to be taken from them. Well,
Mhm.
first of all, if you go into a party and somebody take your phone, ain't nothing good happening there.
Of course.
Nothing is good is happening there.
Of course.
So what I believe there are layers to this, right? So let's
There
talk
are.
about 5 reasons why leaving isn't always easy, Sean. So
Mhm.
I kind of add these into my notes. First, there's something called trauma bonding. Have you ever heard about it, Sean?
I have.
When abuse is mixed with, moments of affection,
Mhm.
gifts, apologies, just like the Tina Turner story. If you saw that
Right.
story, I don't know how real it was and how factual it was concerning Ike, but that's what he did with Tina Turner.
Okay.
It's messy. It's messy. It messes with your mind the same
Mhm.
way persons who hurt you is always the one you're emotionally tied to, right?
I got you.
And
I got you.
money and luxury into that, now it becomes even more confusing. You start
Mhm.
thinking, well, maybe it's not that bad, or I can't walk away from everything,
Right.
right? And then the
Right.
second thing that I have wrote down, Sean, is that fear. That there's fear, and I'm not just talking about fear of another argument. I mean
Right.
fear, I mean real fear, retaliation. She
Okay.
could have feared that he was going to expose her, be
Mhm.
discredited to the community. A wealthy, influential abuser can threaten to ruin your name, take your kids, destroy your career. That kind of power keeps people silent.
Right.
So I think that she may have been experiencing all of this financial dependence,
Mhm.
even if she, has her own money, which Cassie had her own money, not the kind of money Diddy got, right? Even
Mhm.
if she had her own money, you know, she may have gotten used to that big lifestyle that Diddy was giving her,
Mhm.
private, the home, access to status, and for some people, walking away from that isn't just emotional, it is a financial earthquake. And for some women, I believe, especially those with children, now she didn't have any children from what I know, that's terrifying.
Right. Yeah.
And then my last thing, Sean, is isolation is real, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of abusers, especially ones like Diddy, who's powerful, know
Mhm.
how to cut their partners off from friends, family,
Yes.
support.
Yes.
They control who they talk to, what what they post, even what she wears. Because I remember one time he made her cut her hair. To me, that was
Right.
a sign of dominance when a man can make a woman cut her hair off just because he said, "I think you look good that way." And it was
Right.
a very against the grain cut because she's a beautiful girl.
Yeah.
And when you're surrounded by yes men and enablers, man, you start feeling like you don't have a way out. And I believe that is what Cassie was experiencing
Mhm.
while being with Diddy, Sean. And that's all I have
Yes.
to say. Now, I know I went
Yeah.
off on a little rant right there, but I wanted to just make that talking point.
Mhm.
So what's your talking point right now, Sean?
Yeah, well, just to talk about what you were saying, I mean, the physical, the psychological of the abuse is complex. I mean, many don't understand that power and privilege can exist simultaneously with pain.
Yeah.
You can be controlled and still have moments of choice. That's what makes this conversation so layered. And everything that you just talked about, all those aspects of blackmailing and withholding resources and psychological as well as an emotional and physical abuse, she definitely had to endure all that stuff with Diddy over a 10-year period. Now we got to look at this now. That scenario right there happens
Mhm.
every day in just normal America. It happens all the time with broke people, with men that are broke and have absolutely nothing to give a woman, but they still have that psychological power over these women to keep them to stay because of the fear, because of them not knowing what to expect, because they are so controlled, and that happens just in everyday America where they're barely making it, they're barely getting
Yeah.
by.
And
But in the scen but
go
in
ahead,
the
Coach Sean.
scenario of, this right here, when you move into this, field, when you move into the music business or celebrity status, that's the end of the road for you. There is no going back to work at the local factory. There is no going back to work and flip hamburgers. Once you're in there, you're there, and you've got to stay there because you've already gotten a taste of what everything is and how that world is. So you're going to do everything you can in order to stay in that world. Now, that doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right at all, but it just shows you the point of the control. And she testified to the fact that all the freak offs, they're all videotaped. She was worried about these tapes being released to be blackmailed, and that would have ended her career too. So she got caught up in a vicious cycle to where she had to continuously do things over and over again. And you and I both know, in a world where you're doing wrong, you're always going to try to find a way to be right in that world. You're always going to try to find a way to justify what it is you're doing, no matter what it is or what walk of life you're in. I mean, we've done it. We've done it. You know, we knew we were wrong. We knew we shouldn't be doing some of the things we did, but we justified it because of the actual flesh. We've justified it to keep our flesh satisfied. And that's in the end of the day, that is what she dealt with.
Yeah, but we can't make Cassie totally innocent. That's what we can't do.
We can.
We can't.
Yes, we can.
Let me tell you why we can't.
Yes, we can.
She had 2 boyfriends and a husband. Okay? So when she was with Kid Cudi, right? So this is where I struggle at with Cassie.
Right.
When she was with Kid Cudi, she was cheating with Kid Cudi. She had left Diddy. Her and Diddy was done, and she went back. Now, hold on to that. Then she cheated on her husband. So, and he walked out of the courtroom. So for me, can we say that Cassie ain't no clean angel?
We can.
Not. We're not going to say that. We can't.
We can. We can.
Well, I can't.
In this scenario, we can. In this particular scenario, we can. But we can't.
I'm gonna tell you why I can't. Because why keep getting burned by the same fire? First of all, when you got a husband, you left. You was gone. When you got a boyfriend, you left. You was gone. Kid Cudi said that she gave Diddy his phone number. And Diddy and Kid Cudi gets a call from his housekeeper and says, Diddy is in your house. So, although she was victimized, we can't just say that she was a pure victim 100% of the time. Cassie had some accountability for her actions, especially when she moved on. And then if the man is treating you that bad, why cheat on a good? I ain't say Kid Cudi was good, but she said they had a good relationship. Why would you go back to Diddy? Then you get married, and then you cheat on Diddy with that husband. To me, there is something more complex than what's being said, because Diddy ain't said nothing yet.
He's not supposed to say anything. They want to keep him off the stand.
They're
trying to keep him off the stand.
Cassie as an angel in this whole thing, because in the music world, she treated Kim Porter like a dog. See, let me tell you something. In order to be involved in that type of activity, there has to be a gene in you that's just as evil, that is just as conniving, that is just as dirty. Because at the end of the day, she was having sex, and I know people gonna get mad with me. She was getting pleasure. She was getting pleasure from what she was doing, whether he might have made her the first couple of times, or whatever. She was getting pleasure. I'm telling you, I'm not gonna say Cassie is not just a victim. Cassie is, for me, she's a victim / participant. That's what I see based off of all of the narratives that has been drawn on YouTube, Facebook, all these different platforms, and people who actually know her, like Chopper. They tell you she liked that stuff. Now maybe there was a point where she wanted out, but I'm not gonna say she's completely innocent. I'm that's not gonna say she's completely innocent.
Well, here's the problem with all this. A lot of that stuff is just stuff on the sidelines. We're hearing a lot of stuff
Mhm.
on the sidelines as far as stuff that'll never make it into court. That doesn't always mean that it's real. Doesn't mean that it's always true information. It's just could be tabloid stuff. So we
Mhm.
have to be very careful with what we absorb as far as stuff that's on the sidelines that'll never make it into the court case, because we've got to stay where what the court case is. Anybody out there can say that this happened or she did this or she did that. Anybody can, because this court case is big. This court
Yeah.
case is making a lot of people's careers. A lot of people that we have completely forgotten about are claiming they have the inside scoop and claiming they know what happened, or claiming this or claiming that. If they supposedly knew everything they did, why weren't they subpoenaed by the court? Maybe they don't know what they're talking about. Maybe it is all a lie. Because if it's credible source, something makes me feel that the prosecution would be calling those individuals and bringing them into subpoena and having them tell what they want to tell. So we got to be careful when we start looking at the tabloid side of what this court case is.
Yeah, I get you. I get you. So let me ask you this. She told Diddy that her
Mm-hmm.
trauma, and listen, I'm not on Diddy's side at all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just posing questions.
Okay.
She asked Diddy for $30 million because she felt
Okay.
like that's what she deserved for all the pain and suffering she went through.
Right.
Now, Sean, if you gave somebody $30 million,
Right.
should they be talking about anything that you went through? Should it be like, okay, he paid me for what I felt was pain and suffering. I'm gonna go
Right.
about my business and I'm not gonna bother this man no more because he
Okay. All
gave
right.
me my retribution. He gave me what I felt was fair. So
Okay.
how do you feel about her now testifying? And I know it was a subpoena. It wasn't something
Yeah.
that she did on her own. But how, if
Yeah.
you gave somebody $30 million for the
Mm-hmm.
pain that you put them through, that means he agreed he hurt her.
Right. Right. All right.
Whether it
Now,
was gonna hurt his career or not, he agreed he hurt her.
right.
So
Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
mhm,
Here's the thing about all that. What little bit I know about law is that an NDA, which that was, where she
mhm.
had probably signed an NDA for the $30 million so that she does not talk. The subpoena overrides the
Yeah,
NDA all
I
along.
know it
So
does.
when there is federal charges involved, or people are in danger or anything like that, at that point the NDA is null and void. The NDA only keeps you from going to the tabloids, going to
Mhm.
TMZ, going
Yeah.
to the Enquirer. That's all that the NDA does. But when the courts come calling, there's not a whole lot she can do. She could end up in jail herself. So, and what's good $30 million if she's thrown in jail for contempt of court?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Sean. I think in this next segment,
Hmm.
the psychology of abuse.
Okay.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. Let's try to understand abuse. I mean, let's explain the trauma bonding and its neurological roots. Quota studies about how abuse reshapes brain,
Mhm.
especially areas controlling fear and reward. And let's bring in a little bit of scripture. I mean, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, and that's
Mhm.
Matthew 26:41. You see, abusers alter their brain. They
Mhm.
literally alter their brain so they can live and survive with inside the abuse. Victims become neurologically dependent on their abusers. It's like an addiction. It's not just about willpower.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's about rewiring yourself in that trauma.
Yeah. And that's why memories can be good, memories can be bad, right?
Mhm.
Every
Mhm.
time you have a memory, you're basically reliving that experience
Right.
over again. The same neurons fire and wire as if it has just happened because the body doesn't know the difference between a thought and an actual experience. That's
Yeah.
why sometimes, when we think of those traumatic moments, it triggered the same, chemical
Yeah.
responses, the same anger, the same feeling
Absolutely.
of anxiety. And so now we're back being knocked out of homeostasis. We are back
Mhm.
into a place of survival just
Yes.
because, excuse me, just because of a thought and a memory. And
Mhm.
so I can understand how, you know, that that pain really, really resonated with that young lady.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this conversation that we're having now so layered because,
Mhm.
we're talking about a young woman, a
Mhm.
beautiful young woman at that. Whether she
Mhm.
was ugly, buck tooth, or
Yeah, it
bald
doesn't
spot,
matter. Yeah, it
she's
doesn't
still a
matter.
human. She's still a human, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And now her children will grow up knowing her experiences. Like
That's
my
right.
children don't know half of my experiences
Right.
because I would protect them from certain things, that
Okay.
I think they may look at me different. We all
Right.
kind of made some dumb choices. No mistakes. Mistakes is dropping the coffee cup or clipping over something. We
Yeah.
made a lot
Yeah.
of bad decisions because life is based on a series of your own decisions, right?
That's right.
And so, Shann, when I think about this case, we're going to talk about Diddy right now. We just
Yeah.
talking about Cassie in the beginning part of these segments, but he was a monster, man.
He was.
I mean, when they
I think
describe,
that is a I think that is a pretty much a common thing. The man was a monster, plain and simple. I think there's enough proof to show that he does not need to be a gatekeeper in this industry any longer. He needs to be sat down, however that is going to take place. He has to be sat down.
yeah, and I think he's going through it right now, but I don't
Mhm.
believe he's going to jail because
He
I
may
feel,
not.
Sean,
He may not.
there are too many powerful people
Mhm.
connected to this story that has
I
not
think so.
been revealed
I
yet.
think so. I think so.
So could this be them toying with him? Letting them know, listen, we can take you out because that's what I think when I keep hearing them bring up Cassie and Kid Cudi. None of
Mhm.
that says Rico.
Mhm.
None of it. And guess what? As hurt as
Well,
she was, they never asked her, is he a racketeer? Did
right.
he set up these parties with his own money? She never talked
Well,
about any of that.
it's still early though. It's still this court case is still very early in its existence. There's still a lot of stuff to play out. I still feel like that
Mhm.
she's the star witness. I really do, because she was so close to everything. And
But
there's a lot of people out there that know probably just as much and are not talking because at the end of the day, he's a gangster. He dealt with gangsters. He dealt with people that aren't going to snitch, that aren't going to
I
talk
don't look
about
at
it.
Diddy as a gangster, man. I
He's
don't.
absolutely a
He
gangster.
ain't no gangster,
He's
man.
he
Diddy is
doesn't
a bully.
I don't think he gets his hands dirty. I just think he is the brains and the money, and he has his soldiers that handle the violent side of it. I really do. And there's 100,000 gangsters in history that were like that, that never got their hands dirty, but knew how to put the right people in place to get the dirt done. And I
Listen,
think
son.
Diddy is one of
Yeah.
those individuals.
And this is why I don't think he's going to jail. And Blue Sam is right on what I'm about to say.
Okay.
You can't go to jail for RICO charge by yourself. It's like having a conspiracy charge and there's nobody who said you conspired. They gotta have
Yes, you
more
can.
than Diddy there on the RICO.
Okay.
Somebody else has to be involved with this RICO charge before it would be considered a RICO charge. Sam
Okay.
says, how many RICOs involve only one person? I've never seen one, and I have never seen it, saw that. I've never been a witness of that myself.
Okay.
So let's go to another talking point. We're gonna talk about R. Kelly, right?
Okay.
Survivor Stockholm syndrome. You
All
know,
right.
we got to make this relatable so that our viewers would know. Have you ever stayed? And I'm gonna ask y'all, anybody this. Have you ever stayed in a situation just because you was afraid to start over? And a
A lot of
lot of
people are.
people stay in relationships because they're afraid to start over. Sometimes
Right.
leaving feels scarier than staying because
Mhm.
the devil, feels safer than the God you have truly yet trusted, right?
Mhm.
And let's be
Yeah.
honest, how many of us have stayed in something toxic just because it was familiar?
Mhm.
And so with
A
this
lot of
case,
us.
yeah,
A
with
lot
this
of us have done
case,
that.
I'm ready for them to be done with the Cassie part of it because it didn't prove anything. It proved he was
Okay.
well. It didn't prove anything as far as a RICO charge. It proved that he was a
Mhm.
monster. He was a bad
Right.
boyfriend. He was a
Right.
horrible person. He did some horrible things to her. He was a freak.
Mhm.
He liked to watch men sleeping with her. He got off on that. He used to.
Mhm.
I can't say on the show what they said he was doing, but it was
Right.
nasty. I mean,
Yeah.
it was the nasty of nastiest for a man to do what
Mhm.
they said Diddy did. And did he do it? I guess he did. All right. So let's get into the story, right? The legal landscape, Sean.
Mhm.
You
Okay.
know, the significance of RICO laws in New York, right? So
You're
we're
right.
going to talk about the organized behavior and patterns of coercion,
Okay.
right? So this isn't just personal. This is systematic, man.
Mhm.
This is bigger than one man and one woman. New York RICO laws were designated to dismantle systems of corruption. So where's
Yes.
the system? We only got one guy. One guy ain't a system.
Okay.
So is Diddy being investigated under those statutes? Which
Mhm.
means that the government believes these are patterns of organized wrongdoing. And
Right.
nobody, as of yet, has proven that Diddy should be charged with racketeering
Right.
at all. Even well, the R. Kelly case, they had people that says, "Hey, yeah, he paid me for this, he paid me for that. You know, he took the
Right.
money and did this." Nobody has any receipts on
Right.
Diddy financing these parties, on Diddy setting these parties up, meaning that it was said he set them up, but
Right.
there is no proof. Now, and I'm gonna jump side. Will Smith is a nasty dude. Did you hear what they talked about Will Smith, man?
No, I didn't hear what you were
Oh
saying. What
my God, about Diddy. Mm. We'll talk about it another time. Will Smith and a
Okay.
couple other jokers, man. It's sad. And Will Smith is one of my favorite actors. Like I say,
Okay.
actor. He's a favorite actor.
Yeah.
I like to watch him act. All right, because he's good at that. So, Sean, let's
Okay.
talk about another one of your talking points. The legal
Yes.
context.
Yeah, well, definitely just talking about your about the corruption in the RICO. I'd like to talk about this for a second. We all know. I mean, and I think we all know. If I'm wrong, please correct me. That Diddy is basically guilty of all this stuff, and the only reason why I feel that way, and now this
Mhm,
is a feeling. This is I have no evidence whatsoever. This is just a feeling. The fact that he was able to be this person for so long lets me know that he was funded and he was protected for a long time by some very powerful people. That it wasn't just him that gave him the ability to do what he was doing. We do understand that this world, the music industry, and all that is a very corrupt industry. And there's a lot of this stuff going on. We've heard rumors of this stuff for the forever. We've heard many different organizations and whatnot that do some horrific things in the music business, in the movie business. These parties need to exist for these monsters so they can do what it is they want to do,
mhm,
and they need someone to facilitate these parties and make sure they are the ones that can get them done so that the people with power don't have to be a part of, because these very very powerful and wealthy people want this kind of lifestyle. And when you're in the music business, everybody wants to be around musicians.
mhm,
Everybody, sports figures, politicians, everyday people. Everybody loves the musician. Everybody loves the rapper, the singer. Even the actors look up to the musicians.
mhm.
So that world is very high up on the pole. It's very high up in the world. And everybody wants to be able to rub elbows with those individuals. They want to be able to take pictures with them and say that they hooked up with them. They say they did this, they say they did that. So I truly believe that Diddy is guilty of all of the creepy stuff. Now, all the other stuff, the finances, the all that other stuff, I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't seen all the evidence yet. But when it comes to all the creepy stuff, there's way too many people talking about it, and there's way too much going on to prove that he was doing this, and that I feel like he was protected at the top to make sure he could keep doing this for the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years that's been going on.
Well, Sam brought up something significant. So, Sean, I don't know if you was aware of the text messages that they spoke of in court.
Which ones? Which ones exactly?
The one that the text messages from Cassie.
Okay.
They
No,
it
no. You explain them to me.
so they basically saying it was as if she was the one who
Okay.
was setting up these parties. So
Okay.
that means that
Yeah.
if Diddy going to jail for RICO, she
Hmm.
should be going to jail for RICO.
I get that. Yeah,
You follow me?
absolutely. If that and if that's the case, if she was the organizer of these
She
parties, if she
was,
was,
and they said that in court.
what I'm saying is, if she was the organizer of these parties, then okay, that changes what I would think about where she needs to fit in all this. It
Hmm.
does not, it will not, um, um, for me, it won't let Diddy slide.
Yeah.
Diddy still has to go for this, he still's got to fall for that. But I agree with you. Everybody that helped him needs to fall too. I got no problem. But we both know the first person that talks is the first person that gets the deal. That's how court works.
Yeah, but
That's
she ain't
how.
talking. So
Well,
they
she may not be. She may not be talking. I don't
yeah,
know.
they
You're
found
right.
that
She
from a
may not be
text
talking
message.
about that.
So this is what
Right.
Sam
Right.
said. He says from Lisa, Texas, which I heard that too. Cassie
Hmm.
instigated a lot of the freak offs.
Okay.
Witnesses. Now these are the people. Remember, I was telling you,
Hmm.
Chopper, a lot of the guys from Making from the band. They all
Hmm.
said this. They witnesses said Cassie never seemed to be distressed at all during the time
Okay.
she was Diddy.
Okay.
And Sam says Diddy so far is only guilty of being a freak. I agree with you on that, Sam.
Hmm.
I agree with you on that 100%.
No. No. I don't agree with either of y'all with that
Listen,
at all. At
the
all.
only this is
At
Sean.
all.
Have you been
At
watching the
all.
case? The only thing
I
they
have
talking
been.
about
I
is
have
how
been.
freaky he was.
No, 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 no. There's more that's being talked about this case. We're just wrapping our brain
No,
around the
listen to what I'm
fact that
saying.
he's a
We're
creep.
talking about as
No.
of to date. The
Mm-mm.
only thing
No.
last week and a week before they was talking about his behavior
Mhm.
towards Cassie. And
Right.
if you go and look, I don't know how much of the case
Mhm.
she was looking at, but she
Mhm.
described how nasty he was.
Mhm.
He
Right.
described how he liked to put on a mask,
Mhm.
do while somebody's sleeping with her. To
I
me,
know.
I'm with
Yeah.
Sam. The only thing they proved so far is that he's a freak and that he's
Well,
a
no.
horrible boyfriend and that he has control issues. That's
Okay.
all they showed so far.
Mhm.
And
Now, here's the thing.
mhm,
We understand. I understand that. I
mhm.
understand where we are currently in the court case, but it's going to play out. There's more. It goes even deeper as far as why was he recording all these? Why was he keeping these recordings? Was he blackmailing other artists? Was he blackmailing other important figures? Was he using these tapes to coerce people into certain deals, make him give things that he shouldn't got, made contract negotiations more favorable to him because he had this information. These are the
Yeah.
kind of things we have to look into.
Yeah, I
These are the
listen.
things that I'm hoping come out as this court case goes on.
Well, here's
And
the thing.
if that's the case,
Mhm.
then that is the building of this RICO. That is the building of the racketeering by using this kind of information to for him to build his enterprise and make the kind of money that he wouldn't have normally made if he didn't have this kind of information on people that he was blackmailing.
Well, listen, that ain't even been discussed in court. That's
No, it
not
hasn't.
that's
But we
not going
have
to be
more court.
discussed in court.
But we have more court. We
Yeah,
might. It
but
might.
yeah,
It might.
I doubt it very seriously. This
Okay.
is what I think. When Diddy tried to sue the Diamond Company, just like Blue said, for
Hmm.
$100 million, everything went
Hmm.
downhill for Diddy.
Well, he
These
won the case.
guys,
He
these
actually
guys
won
have
it.
crazy
He
money.
actually
They
won
are
it.
connected to the you talking about gangsters. No, they
Hmm.
are gangsters.
Yeah.
Sam said this when he offered to give his artist to publishing for them to sign an NDA deal from Bad Boy, Sony artists.
Hmm.
He says the record execs knew everything was going on. Yep, because
Hmm.
they did know everything was going on.
Hmm.
He is guilty of being free and on domestic violence, still far from a RICO. I agree with that. I don't see nothing so far that's telling me
Okay.
that this man is guilty of RICO. I just don't
Okay.
see it, Sean. All I
Okay.
see is abuse. He's nasty.
Hmm.
He's a horrible person, blowing people cars up. It was something about Cassie that drove him crazy when it comes to being jealous.
Okay.
Like one of the artists said, Chopper said, she it turned her on to make him jealous.
Okay.
He said he saw pull up some of that footage, and the reason I believe Chopper just he's no cap. He'll tell you, he said, man, so I'm gonna be straight up. I like Diddy, I like Cassie,
Mhm.
but let me be
Mhm.
real. And he would say it. Cassie knew that if she started dating somebody, Diddy was gonna get mad.
Okay.
And so, like I said, I am not saying she's an angel and she ain't guilty of something. She's guilty of
Okay.
some things too. Has she been abused? Absolutely, no doubt about it. But
Okay.
when did she go from being a victim to a participant? Because she
Okay.
became a participant. If you
Okay.
listen to those text messages that they read in court, where she was saying things like, "I can't wait for the freak off," that don't sound like a victim to me.
Okay.
Now she said that on her own recognizance. Nobody
All right.
forced her to do it. She texting Diddy, "I can't wait for the freak offs. I'm excited." That
Okay.
don't sound like a victim to me.
All right.
That just don't.
Okay.
That just doesn't sound. Victims don't do that.
All right.
Victims don't do that. But let's get into this Diddy case, man, because right now I listen, and I'm gonna make this clear. I believe Cassie is both a victim and a participant.
Okay.
That's what I believe. I don't believe she's just a
Yes.
victim.
All right.
I believe she's a victim and a participant.
All right.
That's just my
Now,
call on it.
now,
And I have a
just
daughter.
quick,
I will kill somebody over my daughter.
just quick, because I know we need to move on.
Mhm.
In order to remain the victim, you have to become a participant. Because if you're no longer a participant, then you're just a victim and you cease to exist. That's how it works in this world. That's how things happen when people first become a victim. In order to stay alive and survive in that situation, you have no choice to become a participant. We have to look at how that evolves, how that whole situation evolves. When somebody has all the power and all the money and all the fear in
Mhm.
another individual, they've got to become the participant at some point. They have to if they want to continue to live in this world.
Okay. So Sean, let's talk about the civil suit being settled quickly.
Okay. All right. All
Um,
right, Devil. Yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
The civil suits are mostly they're settled real quickly.
Mhm.
But federal racketeering cases they take time. They take proof. They take to follow the money trails. So while some are distracted by the surface, investigators may be building something much deeper under the cloak of darkness of trying to figure out where the money was going. And like I said, all it takes is for somebody in a civil suit to have enough evidence so that the individual was like, you know what, let me just settle this, let me get it out the way, I'll pay whatever it is. And
Mhm.
then a lot of times they don't even have to admit guilt, they just pay money and it goes away.
Yeah. Hey, Sam said something significant. Hey, and this goes against what I just said. Sam said because she said she was excited about something doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
she's not a victim. As a
Mm-hmm.
victim, sometimes you are so afraid that you tell them what they want to hear. Okay,
That's true.
I can agree with that.
That's true.
I definitely can agree with that.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I definitely can agree with that. So let's go to segment 5, Sean. Celebrity
Okay.
applications, right?
All right. Well, the talking points on that is we're going to list the rumors, uh, rumored names being investigated. We're going to ask how deep does a culture of silence in this industry go, and then we're going to mention past examples like Epstein and Weinstein, which were very huge and over the last 10 years that have just dominated and are still dominating the news today.
Yeah.
We've seen this before.
We have.
Hollywood, music, politicians, they aren't isolated incidents. So when one power figure falls, others start shaking. Who else is a part of this ecosystem? I mean, how deep does it go? They're all intertwined with each other because they're all parts of influence. They're
Yeah.
all powerful entities. They're all things that shape our daily lives. They're all things we consume that we spend our hard-earned money on, and they all share a common bond. They're all wicked. They all have crazy things that take place in this world.
Yeah. And you know, man, I wonder if Cassie had a father figure in her life. You
Yeah,
know,
I'm not
because
sure. I'm not
I
sure.
I think that would be significant in
Mhm.
how a young woman even get into a situation like that.
Right.
And like I said, I'm not against Cassie. I just believe that she's a victim and a participant. That's
Yeah,
what I believe.
and
I
I
don't
will
believe
agree. I do agree with
she's
that.
all innocent, but I believe there's more. There's less innocent. No, there's more innocence and less participant in her. I
Okay.
think she's more.
Okay.
There's if I had to say, if I had to put this on a scale, I would
Mhm.
say 85% of it she's a victim, right?
Okay. Okay.
And I would say maybe 15% of it was her participate.
Okay.
Would that be fair?
Well, yes, it would be fair, but it goes right back to what I was saying. If you're a victim, there's a point to where you're going to have to be a participant.
Yeah.
And that 15% may just be solely out of survival,
And
just
it may
out of
be out of
survival.
survival mode
And when
because
you're
we look
dealing
at fight or flight.
and
Yeah.
when you're dealing with a narcissist that Diddy is, a
Mhm.
powerful, crazy individual, you have to learn how to move around him. You have to learn the things that he wants to hear, how he wants you to how he wants you to act. So that 15% could just be nothing more than survival mode for her.
Yeah, and let me go back. That comment was not from Blue. It was from Near um Artemis.
Okay.
I think that's a female. Nia Artemis made that
Mhm.
comment about just because she said she was excited about something doesn't mean he was not a victim. And I appreciate that
I
young
agree.
lady. I thought that was
I agree.
Sam because Sam was sending me some stuff as well. Um, and like Sam said, the trial has only been about 2 weeks. You know, the investigation is going to take years.
Yes, it's gonna
We're
take a
going to be
while.
hearing about this for a long period of time.
Could be.
And he
Could
says
be.
most young folks that are the breadwinners for their families rarely listen to family. He says her father probably said, "Stay away from Diddy." And
Could be.
if it was my daughter, I probably would have broke Diddy in half. I didn't care how much money he had. I'd have broken. He would had to show me he's a gangster for real.
Okay.
Let's talk about spiritual compromise, right, Sean? Let's
Okay.
go to 1 Timothy 6:10. It says, "For the love of money is the root of
Yep.
all evil." Right.
That's right.
So let's
That's
talk
right.
about spirituality for a second.
Yeah.
What are people willing to trade for power? You get what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Young
Yeah.
ladies out here, what are you willing to trade for power?
Mhm.
Young men, what are you willing to trade for power? Dignity,
Mhm.
silence,
Yep.
their soul?
Yes.
Because money
Absolutely.
and status just don't tempt, they twist. They
Mhm.
just don't tempt, Sean. They twist. And
That's right.
people with money, and this is why racketeering is such a powerful charge and why they had to create this federal charge because a person with that kind of money can create some evil stuff
Yeah.
because it's fueled by giving somebody something they want. You know, people are kidnap you for money. People will take your
Mhm.
organs for money. People will do
Mhm.
a lot of things for this paper that God
That's
did
right.
not create,
That's right.
that is man-made, but it
Mhm.
has value in the earth. And they will twist things.
That's
So
right.
this is why racketeering is such a the federal courts, they are very prejudiced towards it because of
Mhm.
what it can do, how
Mhm.
it can bring such evil together.
That's right.
And so I'm just waiting for this trial to really show me RICO because it ain't
Okay.
showed it to me yet. It showed
Well, yeah.
abuse. It
Yeah.
showed a lot of things. It has not showed me RICO yet. If I was a juror, I'd be like, I don't think I'm gonna vote that he guilty. They're gonna have to come with some more. And we got a long way to go. This
Mhm.
trial is far from over.
Right.
It is far. We're looking at maybe a year and a half.
Well, every organized crime agency brings in money under the table in the most illegal ways possible, harm the most people they can, destabilize communities the most they can, destabilize industries the most they can in order to make the most money they possibly can. And there's so many different ways that organized crime agencies do it. the law, the legal status believes that Diddy is that entity, that
Mhm.
organized crime that has destabilized the music industry with the way that he's conducted business, that is destabilizing that community with how many people that he has
Mhm.
hurt, and not only that, crossed over into other industries, whether it be politicians, whether it be movie stars or whatever, and destabilize that with all this activity that's been going on. And when you have that kind of activity, you're gonna make so much
Yeah.
money. You're going to destabilize everything, and that is the whole basis behind RICO, because you can't always follow the money, because the money is coming in so many different illegal ways. It's laundered in so many crafty
Yeah.
ways. So that's why you have to approach what's happening with Diddy and what he's doing in this manner. Will they prove it? I don't know, but I
Yeah.
really think it was the only way they can topple his empire. The
Well,
only
they're
way.
doing a horrible job as far as I'm concerned, trying to prove that he's racketeering.
Okay.
So let's talk about public perception, right?
Okay.
You
All
know,
right.
now everybody's responding to how calm of a demeanor that Diddy is having in
Yeah.
court, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So let me ask you this, Sean: Is
Mhm.
is public image from the defense perspective is being used as a tool of
Yeah.
manipulation, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
So,
it's definitely being it always is. I mean, you always the defense always wants to show calmness,
yeah.
and I'm sure they're coaching him. Don't crack. Don't
Yeah.
smile. No, don't smile. Don't frown. Stay engaged. Write notes. I mean, that's part of the coaching when it comes
Yeah.
to a defense.
Yeah, and other celebrities, they
Hmm.
always use charm to hide their guilt. So,
Hmm.
so let's not be fooled, public, right? Let's not be fooled.
Hmm.
Public behavior is curated, right?
Yes.
Calm doesn't
Yes.
mean clean. Remember,
No.
charm
No.
can be a cover or a
Yep.
PR firms specializing in building a mask for Diddy.
Yes.
So they say he looks really old. Listen,
Hmm.
you take a man that's been living his best life for 20 years, and I don't feel sorry
Yep.
for him. For 20 years, 30 years, right?
Hmm.
And now he's in a place where there's no housekeeper,
Yeah.
there's no money, no Ferraris, no Lamborghini,
Hmm.
no
Hmm.
Ciroc, none of that.
Hmm.
Nothing that he's used to. Now he's in the lion's den.
Yes.
And they say he looks bad.
Yeah, yeah, because he grayed early in life, and he has no beauty products to cover his gray. I mean, he started graying real quick in jail since he's been there, because
Yeah.
and that's what makes him look old, because we saw him so groomed, we
Mhm.
saw his hair so nice and black, and now we're seeing his hair is not as groomed as it was. It's turning gray like his normal self, and that's why he looks older than what we're used to him looking like.
Yeah. But can you imagine what's going through his mind right
Yeah,
now?
absolutely.
If I was him, I'd probably be like, man, you know what? I had enough money to live the
Mhm,
most honest life I could possibly live.
mhm.
I have enough money to go buy me an island and never come back to the United States.
Right.
I
Yeah.
had enough money to be out here right now enjoying life to the fullest.
Mhm.
But this is why the love of money is evil.
That's right.
It didn't say money is evil. Money is a dead thing, by the way.
It's a dead thing.
It's
Absolutely,
a
it's dead.
dead thing. And this is
Mhm,
why
mhm,
when I hear a lot of people saying everything is God's, no, everything ain't God's. Well, the earth and the fullness thereof. Yes, the earth and the fullness thereof. Everything that he
mhm.
created from day one to day
Yes.
6 belongs to God. Everything else is man made. Everything else
Right.
is man made. Man made it, man made it, man made it. So Sean,
That's right.
let's you know, I want people to understand. I'm not against Cassie.
Mhm.
Honestly, I'm not. But we can't just shift blame to just one person.
Right.
We just cannot shift blame to one person. Yes, one
Mhm,
person in this whole scenario it has the most blame, but there
mhm.
comes a point and there comes a place because I've been abused. See, I was abused as a 5-year-old boy till I was 7,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
but I never became a participant.
Right.
Never. I fought back. Never became. Now, this is just me.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody doesn't fight back, but
Right.
I did. Did that
Okay.
trauma follow me? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It followed me to the point where I didn't let my kids go nowhere. Didn't let nobody keep
Right.
them. Didn't
Right.
let nobody, have access to my child when they're not in a position to defend themselves. And even when they became
Okay.
teenagers, I still maintained the same posture. You ain't going over your cousin's house because that's
Right.
where that stuff starts.
Yeah.
That stuff
Absolutely.
starts, it starts in the family. Kissing
Mm-hmm.
cousins is real. And I ain't gonna get into it, but I never did it, but kissing cousins is real.
Yep.
And you gotta protect yourself at all costs.
Right.
Young ladies, listen, don't follow the money, follow your common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because Cassie talked about she was afraid of her career. Well, she ain't have a one-hit record. And
Mm-hmm.
that record wasn't all that big. So for
Right.
me, her career been over with. Because she
Well.
only had one hit song, Shann, and it wasn't that big of a hit. You go pull
Mm-hmm.
the top 100,
Mm-hmm.
she didn't even make the list.
Mm-hmm.
So her
And
career,
that's not entirely her fault, though.
but
That
no,
we
listen,
can look at that as the control of Diddy, and he
it
has
could be, but
control over what he has the control whether or
it
not his
could be, but
record's a hit
she
or not.
was not that great of a singer. If you go back and
Well,
listen to her music,
nobody is.
well, somebody
Nobody
is.
is.
Beyonce's a great
But
singer.
not everybody is. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I
And
should have
that's
reframed that. Not everybody is.
and that's why we can't I wouldn't just say he was the reason her career
Mhm.
didn't go as far as it went, because
Right.
she left a good management company. They
Mhm.
told her how Diddy was. They
Mhm.
told her she couldn't trust him, and she left them for Diddy.
Right.
She was
Okay.
with an amazing company that is responsible for a lot of stars out there. She did
Okay.
not need Diddy. She did
Okay.
not need him when she had her record deal. She left the
Okay.
people she was with, and pull it up, it's facts. She left
Yeah.
the company she was with to
Absolutely.
go with
That's
Diddy,
facts.
and they told her,
Mhm.
don't do it. And they told her
Right.
why shouldn't do it.
Right. Okay.
Ladies, when you get involved with a man emotionally and physically, it's hard to make good decisions, because your
Okay.
decisions are going to be based off of how he made you feel, what he do for you, how this and how that. All these things come into play. You can't make a clear decision versus a person who ain't even messing with him. Like, no, I'm not doing it.
Mhm.
I'm not going here. I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
But once I'm talking to ladies, you got to guard your spirit. If a
Mhm.
man ever put his hands on you, it's over. It ain't no
Mhm.
second time, no third time. Well, he was angry. No, it's over. He just broke the ice. He
Yep.
just broke the ice. Don't you ever let a man abuse you emotionally,
That's right.
physically,
Mhm.
mentally, social. Abuse don't have to come from a slap.
Yeah.
If a man is
That's right.
degrading you, you better turn around and go the other way.
That is true. I
It ain't no,
agree.
I'm sorry. No, you're not sorry. You sorry that she feel the way she feel about what you did.
Right.
So Shann, let's move on. Do we have another segment that we
Yeah, well,
discussing?
it's time to
Yeah,
wrap this up. Yeah, it's
yeah.
time
Let's
to
go
wrap
to
this
our
up.
conclusion, man.
Absolutely. I mean, let's just all think about this for a second. This case reminds us of how complicated the truth can be and how desperate we need wisdom, not just headlines. Victims need validation, uh, accused need due process, and we all need discernment. At the end of the day, we definitely need to watch how this whole thing plays out. We need to allow the court system to bring up all evidence and whatnot, and we definitely should not be siding with anybody at this point, because you're right, Lamar. Everybody could be is guilty of sin in this entire endeavor.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree with that. So we all need to just stand by and make sure that these court systems and these court proceedings come through and that the right person is held accountable. Because if Diddy is guilty of everything he said, then he absolutely his empire needs to topple.
yeah.
If he's not,
Hmm.
then we need to get to the bottom of who tried to topple his empire, and find out why.
Yeah, we're gonna read this last comment before we go to our conclusion and reflections. Sam Blue said she thought she was going to get there faster with Diddy. He signed her to a 10-album deal, which is horrible. If you know anything about contracts, you never sign a 10-album deal. A person, anybody would. Well, since me and Shann know it, but in this music industry, a 10-album deal meaning you signing your life away. You know how long it takes to do a 10-album deal? You got to do 50 to 60 songs per album.
Yeah,
and
it's a lot of work.
And she only did one record. He had her thinking she was going to be the next Mary J. Blige.
Right.
Yeah. So, Shann, listen. Let's start off this conclusion, man. Did you start off this conclusion already?
I did. Yes, I did.
Oh,
I started it off. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, listen. I'm gonna end it with my conclusion in 1 minute. Hold on, let me get myself straight up here. Yeah. So let's leave our audience with this, Shann. He who justifies the wicked and he who condemns the righteous are both alike. That's an abomination to the Lord, which is Proverbs 7:15. Justice isn't about taking sides; it's about finding the truth.
Absolutely. And we encourage you to think deeply, feel compassionately, and speak wisely. The world needs more mind changers.
Yes, they do. Listen, and we'll see you next time. Until then, stay informed, stay aware, and stay unshaken. You've just experienced the Mind Changers Podcast.
We told y'all we came to expose the lies and reveal the truth. We told y'all we bring in biblical principles of factual truth. We told y'all we came to expose the lies and reveal the truth. We told y'all we bring in biblical principles of factual truth. We told